Hi everyone, today is Friday, March the 7th. We are in front of the non-farm payrolls, should come up in about 90 minutes. What are we staring down? Let's first go to the weekly. And what we'll notice is dips getting bought, but really without relative strength, right? Selling pressure continues on the week. We're trying to find a floor. This area around 5,700, maybe 5,720 in the E-mini S&P is really that floorboard. If our jobs number comes in and the market is really aggressively selling, I would suspect, folks, that what we end up doing is pulling a bit lower, potentially to the halfway point. It could get ugly, but we're still going to find buyers there. Why? Because this is a balance zone that the traders want to close above this week. Now, it's Friday. We could have a reflexive motion, all kinds of things going on. But in general, bounces continue to be sell zones. We are way south of where a lot of traders began to sell this market. What we noticed is when the price action got into the 6,000 area, we started seeing 1,000 lots being sold up in this region, and the movers from here, they are in Fat City right now being short. My suspicion is that they're going to want to cover a little bit down into this area as this 200 on the daily becomes very important for us to close above this week. Here's the flashpoint though. If, per happenstance, we get into this zone, and I'm going to remove a number of these lines so that it does not feel so terribly noisy. If we get into these zones near the point of control, which is 5790, and we cannot get above it, we will sell off and have lower levels to check on for the day. So although the traders are trying to hold this base, we have no definitive motion that says, hey, you know what? We could hold this level and we begin a bounce into next week. It could happen, but we could also fail quite dramatically into the lower levels of support. So be careful there. Let the hourly candles tell you whether you are in balance or out of balance, meaning everybody's been accumulating here. They've been accumulating short, they've been accumulating long, but at some juncture, they're going to distribute, meaning if the shorts win the day, it's going to slip down here and they will distribute and then try to cover really near these wicks. 57, let's move this one down, 57.25, right? And they'll try to hold from there. That's really what's going on here. If the buyers win the morning and they distribute upwards, they're going to head back into heavy congestion, 50 simple moving average. This area right here is another zone that easily could end up looking like a balance region, right? Easily an old balance area that is very, very wide. Halfway up there looks like 5790. All right, so that's what we're staring down. To me, I have a downward 50 on both moving averages across time frames. I have a flat to downward VWAP over the prior days. And I keep forgetting what this moving average is. Is it a 5 or something like that? Yeah. And the 5 is flat. So this tells me I have range works, but I'm going to go with larger trends saying that as long as I don't get above 57.78, I'm going to short the bounces. All right, let's take a look at the NQ. Excuse me. I'll be over this nightmare bug soon enough. Take a look at what's going on here. Again, bounces have been weak. This is the zone. Take a look. As a reminder, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks in this balance zone. They want to hold this line in the sand. they want to. So what's been happening? Well, they've been trying to, but every time it bounces, they find sellers, right? Somewhere around 20,000, the buyers start coming in, and we have not seen the low of last week in a hot minute, right? And so that's going to be the number to look at, 20,500. All right, I'm going to remove this line. We're looking at much tighter ranges right now. If we go to the daily chart, we're going to see that since losing 720, that's 20,720, we really have continued to make lower highs. Those lower highs have pressed into lower lows, and just when it looks like they're going to give up the ship, they start trying to bounce at this 20,000 level. We know that that's happening simply because this is a weekly line in the sand. Are we underneath the 200 on the day? Yes. What is the slope of the 200? It's up. So traders are going to use trend as their mechanical flow, and they're going to say, all right, I'm going to look for pressure down below us that begins to hold, and then I'm going to try the bounce. Today, we are sitting right at the prior day's low. That's where we've been fighting for hours and hours. It's made for really nice range trades, but everybody's waiting for the jobs number. So let's draw Fibonacci here. Okay, halfway looks like 20,300, 20,330. If buying pressure gets above this 20,000, it's really 20,315. If we get above that line, we could try to push back into 20,500, maybe the wick here at 20,450. That's been showing a lot of resistance. And that's what we get into the day. Other than that, folks, this is going to be a bounce that is very likely to sell, right? Every big bounce is going to sell. The VWAP, 20,600. I'm not sure we get there, but we've got a lot of wicks. We could see a tremendous reflexive buy if the traders get off sides in one direction or another. Let's take a look at the YM. Going to the weekly chart, my thought is that we hold these floors at around 42,000. We still haven't gotten there yet. What we've seen is a very interesting outflow to European stocks and the European market in the latest little bit. And so this should tell me that bounce action here in the YM absolutely should lead to more selling at this juncture. The euro dollar has had a massive bounce. And so I think we still see some selling here. That really last week, the low of last week, somewhere around 43,100 and some change, those bounce action areas should bring us more selling opportunities. 41,650 is still my target region for the YM. Let's go to the dailies, see where we're sitting. Now, take a look at this. They've been buying it off of the lows at 42,400 for 3 days. What's been happening, however, is that as they bought it, the bounce and the reflexive motion has not delivered more buying pressure. It's just brought sellers in. We are not down at the 200 yet. That's 42,000, sort of. It's also value area low. And so my thought is, if we get to 43,150-ish or so, I expect to see selling pressure. And that's very far away from where we are right now, right? If we cannot bounce up above the close of 2 days ago, that's 42,800. The open of 2 days ago, 42,900. We are going to see continuation to the downside. Momentum is down, trend is down, bounces have been giving us sell zones. Remember, when a market is in negative structure like this, traders force prices down and collect money very quickly. How does a short collect money? It has to buy to cover. And those buy to covers have been really dramatic. We have to watch out for that when we are in negative pressure events, because the reflexive bounces can be incredibly dramatic. You want to be very, very careful opening up new shorts at the lows under this kind of structure. It's very important to be careful of that. All right, as we take a look at price action, you can see how quiet everything is into the broad motion. Very, very quiet. This is the range that the YM is looking at. Again, this is a value area event. It's where the traders have been accumulating. And if they break to the north, they're going to distribute as longs. If they break to the south, they're going to distribute as shorts. Okay? So watch the range. And as long as the range holds, you're in great shape until it doesn't. Okay? So watch your risk. Let's go to micro Bitcoin. Let's take a peek, on the weekly formations. These bounces have been sell zones. Here is the 90 line in the sand. It's got to give us something, or else it's going to rotate back downwards. Now, notice what's happened this week is that because of the crypto stuff going on, we've had these dips that really have come through and are holding. The problem is, folks, every bounce is getting sold. Every bounce is getting sold. And so we can't look at the structure and go, oh no, it's rising here because of X, Y, or Z. We simply cannot do that. My suspicion is that any bounce action into this 95,600 area should continue to be sold. What's the fly in the ointment? Well, the fly in the ointment for that is that we could end up basing here and then breaking out to the top of the range and returning to upside pressure, because this chart looks just like the NQ in general. I'm going to guess that that's not happening. Okay? I'm just going to guess that's not happening. So what do we want to look for? Bounces that sell, or if you're very bullish, pullbacks that show us buyers. So today, what might the pullback look like? Well, we had a lower low yesterday, bought it right up off of that range. My thought is the following. If we can hold 84,000 on any kind of pullback, this price action will give us more flow to the upside. We've got bullish momentum. We're sitting above the moving average. We've got an upward to recovering VWAP, and our resistance is not until 95,000. So dip buying could work here intraday. You just want to be pretty careful. Let's talk about oil. As we get to the oil chart, there's something very interesting we want to think about. First of all, we had the administration come out and say, hey, listen, we're trying to get oil prices down. Then overnight, Kazakhstan says, we are cutting production. The U.S., of course, is going to try and hold production. But this news of cutting production really kept us right off of the bounce zone at 65. This was a beautiful test yesterday. And right into that motion where everybody went short and said, oh no, oil's going to 50. Listen, it could. But if we've got weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of buying pressure, it is not going to collapse and stay collapsed unless something very big comes through the news cycle. And so my thought is the traders are trying to hold this 67. If they hold 67 at the end of the week, that is the close today, we should have ourselves a reflexive bounce that takes us right back to 70, where more selling will come about, right? So let's take a look at the daily. and see what's going on from a price perspective. So the news came in here, probably here, Tuesday. And then we moved down. But since the day of digestion of the traders coming in and saying, hey, that's terrible news, let's short this, all the people who were saying, that is a great place for me to cover my shorts, that's what they're doing right now. They're covering those shorts, coming into the resistance zone. The top of the range, to me, is, we want to close over 67. If we closed over 68, that would be very nice, but the first group of sellers are going to start piling right back in at this breakdown of the old balance area, right? That's going to be somewhere around 68.50. That's what I'm looking at. I am going to actually, I'm going to remove this one because we've got value area low. We are above the high of the prior day. Momentum is very negative. And so we are going to see sellers up here at the first pass. No doubt about it. We can see them coming right into this zone. I still think they buy the dip here. Maybe 66.60, 66.40. But that's the floor. 66.30 is the floor today. If we lose that area, buyers are going to stop trying to buy the dip. All right, let's go to gold. Gold holding steady. It's been sitting between, look at this entire week. This is a new balance zone, folks. Dips getting bought. Where are they? Maybe they're 28.80, 28.60, right? As soon as it gets into that zone, traders are starting to buy it. But a lot of sellers up here at 29.60. So there's about $100 of motion sitting in here as price action tries to stabilize on the week. Let's look at the day. Right? I'm going to remove, not the fib. No, I'm not going to remove the fib. I am going to remove this line, though. Pardon me. And we're going to see that 1, 2, 3, 4 days of motion have given us buys at 29.02. So what do? You set an alert for 29.02. Let it collapse through the level and then recapture, and then you've got your long. Target, 29.40, 29.30, 29.40. We are landlocked in here. Very, very messy price action. My thought is, 29.40 is the top of that range. I would not try to hold it long up over here. We've got negative divergence on the daily telling us any range expansion is likely to be retested. So do not buy the breakouts in gold at this time. Let's take a look at SPY. Boy, these guys, they just are selling every bounce. Let's take a look at the weekly, right? Here's our weekly formation. Heavy congestion, last balance zone, right there at 570. Where's the low edge? I still think it's 560, 565, right? Pulls back into the 50 on the week, low area of balance. Dips, going to find buyers, but those buyers have been very weak. Take a look at the daily formations. Here we are coming into the 200, right? What have they done? We cannot get up over, we cannot get up over the prior day's low so far. 574, 575. We get above that zone. Sellers are going to get a little bit more nervous. They're likely to buy to cover. Could send us to the top of the, look at how wide this area of balance is. We easily could move from, let me move this down. We easily could move all the way back up to 585 before rotating back down, or here's where I think the sellers will likely come right back in. If we get to 580, price action should start slowing down, right? I think sellers potentially come into that area. very negative pressure events. So all the bounces are still getting sold, folks. Doesn't mean you sell the low. Just, it's going to give you some pain. You're probably going to be right, but it's not going to be without some significant pain. Let's go to the Qs. Qs continue to sell off, right? They are, I don't know, I think the NQ's down 10% from the highs, base of the value area, right? There's been all kinds of accumulation up here. Some accumulating on the short side, some accumulating on the long side at the dips. These breaks are going to give us either extensions or reversals back into the range. Thanks, Captain Obvious. What else you got for me? Well, this is why this area is so important. Because of this heavy weekly congestion, traders are going to want to close the week above 482. If they can't do it, the first bounce into Monday, they're going to try and sell it again. That's my suspicion. If we take a look at our daily charts, let's get rid of some of these lines, right? What are we looking at? Every single bounce getting sold, but the bounces have been huge, big bounces. Yesterday was the first bounce that we had, right? Opened here, bounced, couldn't make the high. And then as soon as we lost the open of prior days, that 498, we just had a savage rotation down. Same sort of thing going on today, being underneath the 200, the bounces up into either the open of yesterday, maybe 496, or the VWAP at 494. That's going to give us selling pressure. 482 to literally 471 might be the next line in the sand. We want to be very tactical here, very, very tactical. And selling the lows, folks, going to lead to some pain because we sit in weekly areas that traders are trying to find a floor on the market with. All right, that's it for me, folks. I'll see you at the Benzinga Options half-hour event at 11 a.m. Eastern. We have our midday money ball from 12 to 1, and then I'll be on Top Step TV from 2 to 3. So hopefully we'll see you there. Bring questions, thoughts, comments, general banter, and I'm looking forward to spending time with everyone today. Take care.